So I want you to stop whatever else you're doing for just a second and really think about this. What if your anxiety, that constant hum in the background of your life, isn't a flaw in your design, but actually a signal? And going a step further, what if suffering isn't a punishment inflicted on you, but rather a profound internal misalignment? Now, these aren't just modern therapeutic questions. They are the exact questions ancient mystics were asking thousands of years ago when they developed what we might honestly call a psychological operating system for human consciousness. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely bypass the pop culture red strings and celebrity trends to reveal the actual foundational concepts of Jewish mysticism known as Kabbalah. We're looking at it not as some rigid dogma, but as a hidden map of the human soul and a thousands of years old technology of consciousness. Section 1. The modern human problem. We live in this incredibly advanced modern society, right? We have the fastest Wi-Fi ever built, and we are literally sending rockets to Mars. Yet, internally, we seem to have way less peace than our ancestors did. I mean, a lot of us can't even sit quietly and control our own thoughts for 10 consecutive minutes. It's crazy, but our technological evolution has just vastly outpaced our inner psychological evolution. Well, ancient mystics identified this exact dynamic a long time ago. They warned that the existential emptiness we feel, it doesn't come from a lack of external resources. Rather, the chaos begins because our inner world is fragmented. You know that profound feeling of being totally lost while sitting in a room full of glowing screens? Yeah, that is exactly what Kabbalah addresses at its very foundation. Section 2. Decoding Ancient Kabbalah. So first, let's define our terms. The word Kabbalah literally translates to receive. But we aren't talking about receiving physical objects here. It specifically means receiving wisdom, deep awareness, divine consciousness, and an understanding of the hidden architecture of existence. So rather than just being a religion, Kabbalah is this profound, centuries-old exploration into human suffering, the human ego, and how we can actually reconnect with the source of life itself. And there is this absolutely incredible overlap between ancient thought and modern science. Ancient Kabbalists stated that the world is energy hidden in form, believing the visible world is just the surface. Fast forward to today, and modern quantum physics literally tells us that solid matter is mostly empty space. It's wild. What ancient mystics felt through intuition and symbols, modern physicists are now proving with complex equations. They're simply two different languages describing the exact same reality. So, what is the core problem according to all this? Well, the root of human suffering is separation, and I don't necessarily mean a religious separation, but a psychological and spiritual separation from meaning, deep presence, love, and inner unity. When we lose these connections, our nervous systems actually enter a chronic, survival-oriented stress mode. So the anxiety, the constant fear, the addictions we feel today, they all stem entirely from this separation from our source. We literally stop living and we just start reacting. And the primary culprit driving all this fragmentation? The ego. Think of the ego as basically that toxic friend we all have. You know, the one who creates the drama, blames everyone else for it, posts highly curated motivational quotes online, and then still texts their ex at 2 a.m. The ego constantly whispers that a new car, or more validation, or maybe a new productivity app is going to fix an unprocessed childhood trauma. Meanwhile, your soul is just sitting there quietly, waiting for real healing. Section 3. The Tree of Life. Now, you've likely seen this symbol before. The Tree of Life is made up of 10 interconnected spheres called the Sephirot. Try to think of the Sephirot as almost like a spiritual nervous system. It isn't just a pretty mystical drawing. It's actually a meticulously structured architecture of the human psyche that maps out our internal psychological states. Each of these spheres represents a key aspect of human existence. We're talking things like wisdom, understanding, discipline, compassion, and presence. So the really crucial point here is that Kabbalah teaches that healing is found in balance. Living way too heavily in just one of these spheres, it creates a total disaster. Like if you have too much discipline, you become rigid, too much emotion, and you become chaotic. And if you have too much ambition without any grounding, well, that leads straight to burnout. And once again, science completely backs this up. The ancient mystics' pursuit of balancing these spheres, which they called harmony, is exactly what modern neuroscientists mean today when they talk about neural integration. Mental well-being in modern science depends heavily on integrating our emotional centers, our rational thinking, and our nervous system regulation. Harmony and integration, they are the exact same goal. Section 4. A framework for transformation. Kabbalah says humans are vessels, but the problem is we're constantly trying to fill an infinite emptiness with temporary things. When we rely on external stimulation, things like endless scrolling, shopping, or chasing status, we merely excite the brain's dopamine pathways. It creates this endless pursuit, but never actual peace. True nourishment for the human soul comes from meaning and connection, inner purpose, and deep emotional bonds. That's driven by serotonin and oxytocin. Temporary pleasure simply cannot satisfy an existential hunger. You know, there's this old mystical teaching about a king who built a palace of mirrors. A terrified dog ran in, saw thousands of other dogs, barked aggressively, and fought the mirrors until it literally died exhausted. But later, a wise man walked into the exact same palace, he smiled, and he saw thousands of friends smiling back at him. It's such a beautiful allegory because it perfectly illustrates how your perception, whether it's filtered through trauma, fear, or love, literally shapes your reality. Your nervous system effectively becomes the lens through which you experience the entire world. Okay, so here is a highly practical 5-step Kabbalistic framework you can actually start using today. First, observe the ego. When you're triggered, just pause for 90 seconds. Those emotion chemicals will naturally pass through your body in about 90 seconds if you just don't mentally feed them. Second, contribute. Shift from constantly consuming to actually creating value. Third, inner alignment. Make sure your thoughts, emotions, and actions actually match up. Fourth, sacred stillness. Silence terrifies a lot of us, for sure, but meditation calms the amygdala. And fifth, transform suffering. Instead of just trying to escape the pain, ask yourself, what is it trying to teach me?
Now, this journey definitely requires us to look at the dark parts of ourselves, too. Kabbalah deeply acknowledges human duality, both the light and the shadow. And both ancient Kabbalists and modern psychologists like Carl Jung agree that we absolutely have to integrate our shadow self rather than just ignore it. Because if we suppress our darker impulses, they're just going to direct our lives from the shadows anyway. True spirituality isn't about escaping your humanity to become perfect. Not at all. It's about refining your humanity by becoming fully conscious.
Section 5. The ultimate human purpose. According to all this wisdom, the ultimate purpose of your life is not merely to just be happy or to collect a bunch of things. The true purpose is to evolve your consciousness, awaken from illusions, reconnect your fragmented parts, and become internally whole. Think about it. Society trains us incredibly well on how to compete and consume, but it completely fails to teach us internal self-understanding. And as this philosophy warns us, success without self-awareness, it's really just a more sophisticated form of suffering. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder today. We spend so much of our lives just exhausted trying to bend the external world to our will. But what if the real miracle isn't controlling the universe? What if the true miracle is healing your wounds, calming your nervous system, and finally mastering your own mind to become deeply present? Because in a chaotic world, a peaceful consciousness is absolutely the rarest and most powerful thing you can possess. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.